Alrighty guys, welcome to a post commentary on a game of FBGLTD. I'm playing LOD, my two teammates have two Aquas, and my final teammate is playing Nightmare. The reason this is post commentary instead of live, unfortunately there was just a bunch of noise going on when I played this game, similar to the other one, but it's a bit of a spicy one, so I thought you guys would enjoy it. Anyway, starting LOD on 1, I'm always really happy to have that. It's a very solid unit every level. Checking my teammates' roles at the moment. Got a Troll Fighter on red, Drunk Pirate on teal, and then good ads in general on purple with Dark Mage and Warlock. I've just noticed here that my teal Aqua player's sort of forgotten their last Wisp. So I'm just wondering what's sort of going on. Apparently it just cancelled. Misclicks happen, so no big deal. Anyway, obviously I was hoping they send warriors, but doesn't always go exactly how you hope, so that's all fine. So now that my red player says he's risking 2, what I would normally do with this role is I would push and add just a Spectre, or maybe just an Ogre. But for this game, since my red players said that they're going to risk 2, and my Nightmare is also planning to risk 2, I decided to just add the Crab for level 2 and just cover. So it's always good to just make sure you're aware of what your teammates are doing and adapt. So I initially placed the Crab here, and you'll see in a second I decide that's not a very good spot and I want it further behind. So the reason I want it further behind like this is the Crab has 180 range, so I want it to basically stand next to the LOD and kill anything or help kill anything that actually attacks the LOD, okay? Because I want the Infernal up the front tanking, doing its own thing, and then just let the Lord do all the damage and make sure the Lord doesn't get sniped. That's what I want this Crab to do for me on level 2. So they do end up sending on level 2. Pretty happy about this, at least for my lane. So you can see one of the Aqua players is wrist, the Nightmare player wrist, and the other Aqua player teal is playing relatively safe on 300 value. So having a look at the sends, I know the other team sent 4 Furbolgs, which means everyone is at least 2-0 to start on their side. As you can see, the Crab sits next to LOD and actually tanks the Furb. So I have the Infernal in mid as well as the LOD on about 80% health. So yeah, my red Aqua player, definitely quite unlucky there with the focus to leak so much. Don't get me wrong, should never expect 250 Aqua to actually hold versus send on 2, but that is a very big leak. So he's definitely unlucky there. But you know, these things happen, and I can't say I was too unhappy about it because look at all this feed. So yeah, I actually used my free reroll before the recording started, so I don't have my reroll anymore, but that's okay. As you can see, get a resummon there, just about at the end of the LOD's lifetime. Kill every single creep and one of the 3 Furbs in mid. And yeah, so much money, indeed. So after this much feed, I definitely want to make sure I just push quite a bit. Definitely don't want to be overbuilding and playing inefficiently now. Just want to maximize the push, because push that's done earlier, so fast push, accelerated push because of this feed, is going to be much more rewarding. And I say right now, at the beginning of level 3, that I want to try 3 Hades on 10. So the reason I think I can go for this is obviously all the feed, but also with the Crab as an ad, sells for 76 gold, and it costs 85 gold to build. So you only actually lose 9 gold when you sell it. So it's very efficient for trying to reach some breakpoint like 3 Hades on 10. Anyway, I had a couple of Spectres here because I want to push my pardon me. I had a couple of Spectres here because I want to just make sure I'm strong on 4. I don't actually need them for 3. But I was thinking I might just cover in case they decide to resend, thinking that they'll knock down an underbuilt LOD. It was relatively unlikely in fairness, but I don't lose anything by delaying that Wisp for 15 seconds, I don't think. and I'd rather just cover, make sure nothing silly happens. Because with LOD, every so often you'll see the Infernal do something really silly, like spawn behind and then walk off to the side. And if the LOD gets sniped, on level 3 you lose most of your damage, so that's obviously not very good. So just playing a little, slightly on the safe side with the 2 Spectres there. So cool, we send 4 Blood Orcs on level 3, which is a pretty good send obviously. 19 leaks to mid, counting the Blood Orcs, so it's 2 people leaking. And we know that both of the leakers rather, have AoE. We know that there's an Undead Privateer with Captain, and then a Cannon. So we have a pretty good idea of all 4 of the enemy team's rerolls, which is always nice. So Teal reckons the Privateers are pretty terrible. I actually don't mind them personally, but they are slightly on the weak side. They're probably slightly expensive, more so than weak. Anyway, going through teammates quickly, you can actually see Red is staying on 350 Aqua value for level 4, which is certainly very risky, but I think it's not unreasonable because he's already leaked so much. He's just trying to push as quickly as possible, and if not recover, at least sort of catch up and regain a solid footing in the game. But for me, I'm feeling very good in this game because I get to push 7-1, sell my crab, and then get a second LOD on level 5, which is obviously insane to be 7-1 with 2 LOD, because most games you're lucky to get it with 5-1. Most games, honestly, you're looking more like 4-1 to get 2 LOD on level 5. Anyway, I sort of say here that considering both of the leakers on their side are AoE, and the 2 scouts we got, Privateer and Cannon, are both quite weak on level 6, I'm thinking sending on level 6 is not a bad option for us. Get a little agreement from Red here, which is always nice, that he thinks I'm not a complete moron in terms of my call. They get Shockwave here. Shockwave's good. It's actually personally my favourite king spell, but it's just reasonable on every single level. Anyway, I'm pretty stoked with how this game is going. Honestly, you don't get fed like that early on very often at all, which is obviously unsurprising, but it makes for a fun game when it does happen. So, just having a quick look at my teammates. 3 Nightmare with Dark Mage on purple. I'm just letting him know I am planning to go Hades for level 7. So currently I'm thinking I'll just push 7-2 and then save the gold on level 6 and get the Hades. The problem with doing that is 2 Lod actually, I believe 2 Lod almost always leaks level 6, and the 2 Spectres don't do a whole hell of a lot. So I think if I don't build for 6, I think there's a fair chance that I leak. Probably about 50-50, but I don't have too much experience with 2 Lod without ads or with really low ads on level 6 pardon, so I'm actually not 100% sure there. But I have forgotten one little part of my role, which we'll get into as 6 starts. So you can see I get more feed here, which I'm definitely stoked about. So I was very happy about that for sure. We get another scout here on level 5, and we see that there's a turret in addition to the Privateer and the Cannon. So the call is to send on 6, so we end up following through with that. But it was definitely nice to get that other scout. And I remember now that, hey, I actually have crab in my role. I can build the crab, be really, really safe on 6, and then just sell it on level 7 to make sure I don't leak. So when I was initially planning for 6, I'd forgotten that I had crab in my role basically. But yeah, I'm gonna play it a little bit safe, make sure I don't sort of self-decay a really fed game, which is good. And yeah, we're actually rather weak on 6 ourselves, so it was definitely on the risky side. This probably would have been a good case for me to actually stay 6-1 and get a Hades for level 5, just to cover 6. To be completely honest, I didn't even consider that on sort of level 3, 4, 5 when I was planning. my build for the upcoming levels, so that's definitely something I should have at least thought about, rather than it not even going through my head. Yeah, so Teal ended up saving, I think, 200 or so lumber here, which is obviously not ideal. It's lacking a little bit of focus, but you know, that happens. It was a game that was about the middle of the day for me, which means about the middle of the night for probably most of these guys, so it's understandable they're not super focused for sure. Even without the full send from him, you see 50 leaks in mid on level 6. That's a very, very good send, so we definitely managed to break them. As I say here, like, you know, at least you miss your send in a game where we break them without the send, so it's happy enough. At the moment, we're thinking of Verb Hermit resends, and I was about to say that no one needs cover because our push is all good, but that's immolation on them. So, because we see the immolation and we obviously have Shockwave and we don't actually have a 7 holder, we just start upgrading the king. So I don't like king controlling. As you can see, I've got a reasonable amount of ping at the top of the screen there. That's just because I'm Australian and I live, you know, quite a ways away from the Blizzard servers, so there's nothing I can actually do about that. It just means that king control is on the unpleasant side, shall we say. And partly as well, because I have quite a bit of ping, very rarely control the king, I'm very, very out of practice with it. So I just try not to do that in general. Yep. So as you can see, we've got a 15 HP upgrades before level 7 has even started, 16 now. So definitely doing pretty well there. Just sell the crab here. And easy Hades with plenty of gold to spare. Yeah, if Teal had sent the hermits on 6, they probably did lose that heal, but it's okay. We forced them to do a whole lot of king, which means we really lower their send for level 7, even though we don't actually take the heal on 6. It doesn't matter because it means they can't use the immolation that they got to actually hurt us all that much on 7, because we know about it and we have a bunch of king and their send would be weaker. I'm a little bit rude there, but that's okay. Alrighty, so it's actually still not a bad send, to be honest, bigger than I remember. Ferb, 2 hermits and a commander on me. So not the biggest send for sure. Wouldn't have liked to run into that send if we didn't force them to king on 6. We probably denied about 2 hermits on each lane. Just talking a bit of shit with Red here. He's a good bloke. He's actually organising the upcoming tournament on FBG firstbloodgaming.com. So just go check out the website. It's in the description below if you're sort of interested, if you have people you might want to play in a team with. Or you can, if you don't have a team sort of ready-made, join the Discord. Link is in the description as well for that. And I've got a little looking for team page, so there are quite a few people that are ready, willing to play. So just try and play some games with them, get around it there, and see if you can't sign up, because the tournaments are always fun. And there is also a prize pool. I don't recall how much it is off the top of my head, but it's in the realm of like $300 or $400 total pool, which is really not bad for a Warcraft 3 sort of custom map tournament. So thanks very much to Red in this game, Tin, for organising that and getting that sorted, because it's a lot of work and he doesn't really get anything out of it, but it is really good fun for everyone. So appreciate that very much, mate. Cool, so just watching some control at the moment. Not a whole lot to talk about. We just have really good king upgrades. So with this second shockwave, we'll come in on the right hand side. But I think we just about lose this second heal. Yeah, so we lose 2 heals. Not perfect, but it's alright. So the reason that Red said not to use the wave there is because we know we have better push than their team. So spending extra time with the king just hitting the creeps is not bad for us. And using that shockwave or not using that shockwave there, it wouldn't actually cost us an extra heal. So it's fine. So for 8, I'm staying 7-2 because I want my 3 Hades. Thing is, I have a 50 reroll, and nothing else in my roll is that good for level 10. Like Spectre or upgraded Spectre is, Ogre's nice ad-wise, but it doesn't really synergize well with Hades. So the best way for me to actually hold level 10 is with the 3 Hades. If I can get it, I'll be super strong. But I'm very close in terms of gold. So even though I got so fed this game, it's still going to be very difficult to get 3 Hades. Anyway, Teal not too happy with his reroll. I think it's actually not bad though. He's got Carrion Spitter and he's got Dark Priest, so they're quite reasonable, both of those units. If I were him, I'll grab 1 Dark Priest and the rest Spiders for level 10, but we'll see what he ends up doing. Kind of just joking around here, because I'm very keen to just. I've gotten very fed already this game, so I'm thinking, why not get me even more fed? Once you've started, you may as well go the whole way. Little broken heart there. It's alright. See, a bit of a pro leak from Red. 805 value, so he's got 700 Aqua and the 105 Troll Fighter. So he's actually on the unlucky side to leak with that. But it's not a big deal because he's building more for the mid game with that Troll. So that will help him much more, obviously, than 2 Aquas. And 9 leaks is not a big deal, slowing down the game. And spreading some feed to bloody yours truly is pretty happy. So I noticed Purple was sort of thinking about staying 7-3. Looking at his role, he has quite good single target focus with the Warlocks, but he really lacks like the mass kill, right? So he's actually quite weak versus Dinos, Pudge, etc. So my thought was, whether he's 7-3 or 7-4, he's probably just going to kill 1 boss. I don't think that gold would make very much difference for him, because he's going to kill 1 boss pretty quickly, and then he's going to spend a whole bunch of time faffing around killing dinos with units that aren't very good at killing dinos. By that time, because his build is relatively squishy, he's got Nightmare frontline, and then the rest of it's pretty much backline. Because his build is relatively squishy, I think he's on the unlikely side to kill 2 bosses. Just joking around with Red a bit here. He's a funny bloke for sure. We get on rather well. Anyways, looking at the builds, we got a zombie on Teal. I would have stayed away from that personally. But yeah, as you can see, it's just, it's good damage, absolutely, on Purple. But it sort of just lacks that hold potential. Just lacks a little something, which 3 Hades certainly doesn't. So obviously, 347 gold here. I know I already hold level 9, so I have no need to sell a Spectre to get the Hades here, because I already hold. So I asked someone to cover my furb, because obviously Dino costs 120 wood and gives 7 income, whereas Furbolg, 140 wood, but only gives 6 income. And yeah, because I'm really close on this, right? Level 9 gives 251 gold, so 62 income. That's about 310, so I've got about 307 gold, so I need about 40 gold worth of feed to get this 3 Hades, right? So I'm definitely lagging a little behind on it, but I'm just thinking those Aquas might not be mid on level 9. They might give me some feed. And obviously I have 24 golds worth of Spectre that I can sell if I need to. I'd rather not, because they're nice units, they're helpful. But it's certainly worth it. We're selling them to get the breakpoint for Hades, if that's what I need to do. We'll see. So I'm just doing my calcs during the round, sort of bit of mental arithmetic. So 26 plus 97 is obviously 123. So that's 672, 675, 695, and I need 700 gold. With this number of leaks, even if I don't get 5 gold, I'll have enough time to send for it with 2 bowmen and a militia, which is 100 wood, which I'm reaching now, just before income, if I got none of those kills. Yeah, so slow drip feeding me all game. I'm a little bit in disagreement here. I say 3, I actually mean level 2. But it was anything but slow drip, man. It was just a lot of gold in a very short space of time. Anyway, 3 Hades on level 10 is absolutely insane. 2000 value. Very, very strong level 10. You very rarely see it, obviously, because it's quite hard to get. Even though you see 2000 value from time to time, or 1950, it's just not realistic to play LOD or Hades without any ads, unless you have exactly crab. So there you go. And we'll see how I do on level 10. So actually, I was actually very happy that they decided to send here. I thought they'd skip and it would be kind of sadness. But have a look at this first Hades. So obviously couldn't afford a blocker in front. So it takes a bunch of damage, but then we just kill the boss 2 hits before it would have killed my Hades there. Which means essentially the Hades is just tank for free and being super, super efficient. So I have every single unit mid. The only things that died are the imps from the Diabolics, and those imps actually don't teleport to mid, they die in the lane, which is kind of interesting. I believe they're the only unit to do so. And I think it's because they're summons from a summon, which is kind of cool. So I'm pretty happy here. The low health Hades spawned at the back of mid, so he won't get sniped quickly. So I'm just sort of preparing the shit talk here for when they'll actually see my mid. Because, you know, it's very rare to see this triple Hades, especially in a sort of competitive game. Does not happen often at all. Take a quick screeny. Because why not, really? Anyway, I've killed 1 boss, 2 bosses, 3 bosses. 4 bosses. 0-0? Yeah, pretty much. I actually managed it with 7-2, so not even ridiculously low push. Anyway, I believe I killed 8 total bosses on level 10 this game, which is pretty ridiculous. 8 out of 12 went straight into my mouth, which is very happy. So you can see I've been able to push from 7-2 all the way to 7-5, which is obviously very, very nice. And they lose a bunch of heals here because they didn't manage to have anyone holding our send. Our send was rather large. My team's send was rather large. Mine was pretty pathetic, but I did end up holding in mid, so it's sort of allowed. So I was just sort of going to mention to Teal that if I were him, I'd drop Dark Priest before re-rolling, but yeah. Just gets a bit confusing when too many people are sort of talking at you. So I drop an LOD here and reroll because I'm not a fan of anything else in my role going into the mid game. Thought it was very, very unlikely to be a 15 game considering their pushes. So I wasn't all that keen on just massing Spectre. I don't like mass Spectre in general, if I'm honest. It is quite good, but it's a bit farm heavy. And since I was the 10 holder this game, my bank is quite low. So if I'm doing a bunch of farms to place a bunch of Spectres, then I'll end up not being able to send a Behemoth. And in this game, I have so much value. I'm 2300 value with 100 income. I'll be able to build lots of different options and go mid on 15 versus their send, which might even be missing a Behemoth. So I'm not worried at all about 15, about being mid on 15. I'm definitely thinking that I could just use any decent sort of unit, whether it's magic damage or not, honestly, and be able to go mid without a problem. So this arena is very, very close, but very, 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 very close, but we do actually end up losing it. A lot of reason for that. If you didn't notice, just skip backwards maybe 15-20 seconds and just have a look at a bunch of our units, my Hades in particular, just running around behind the Aquas and being pretty useless. Aquas on Arena are absolutely terrible. They're obviously squishy, low damage, they don't do focus damage, and they also just end up blocking all your allies' units, far more so than anything else. So Aqua is probably one of the worst units in the arena battle, which is just kind of interesting. But yeah, if you have Aquas and Iggs or Tox, it's just very painful, because Igg is, it has a very, very big model, slow movement speed, so it's it's very often something that gets blocked, and if you have Iggs and Aquas, you just watch the Igg run around at the back of the arena before until rather all the Aquas die, which is quite funny. So actually right here, if you pause the video, I can't actually see these tier 2 pirates on his line right there. They were bloody invisible to me, which I thought was absolutely ridiculous. But now I've scrolled my screen back, now I can see them. So I thought he'd sold them or done something ridiculous like that. So I was absolutely shook. But now I can see them. But I was losing my mind for a second there. So yeah, when I was writing this, I genuinely couldn't see it. I thought I must need like my eyes checked or something along those lines. But looking back at the recording now, I could see it actually just didn't appear on my screen. So that's interesting. I've no idea why that happened, and I've no idea why they sort of popped back in as soon as I scrolled away and then scrolled back. But there you go. Interesting little things that happen. So I just checked the bounty on teammates' leaks. It's always sort of nice to have an idea if you're getting gold, if you can plan, if your calculations are close or anything. Are you planning to get extra gold from your teammates' leaks, or can you plan for that, or can you not? Cool, so I keep this 4th LED. I don't want to use my 100 reroll because it costs too much lumber, and I'm honestly pretty happy with this roll. I've got a troll champion with it, which is very nice with Hades. Bit of a DPS increase, which they definitely need. If they're the main part of your build. Hades are very efficient tanks, but their damage is on the low side, even though it's good every level, being Chaos, is definitely on the lower end of damage output. So we just want to make sure we get some form of damage. So Teal is saying to make the tier 4 pirates, just to cover 14 a little bit. He doesn't have much else in his role at the moment. He has Dark Priest again, to be fair, but Dark Priest and Aqua is not the best combo. I still like 1 or 2 at the back, just for some damage, but definitely some frontline. And the upgraded Drunk Pirate, the True Pirate, actually has a -2, I believe, armor aura around itself. So that's actually a really, really nice aura to have on any level. So, you know, if you see that unit, definitely, especially if you're rerolling in the mid or late game, and you see that unit, it's definitely worth thinking about picking it up, because it will absolutely do work with that aura, even if its damage and armor types are irrelevant for whichever level. Cool, so watching Red here, I actually thought he was going to end up holding, but yeah, I thought he was holding, but no, he ends up leaking 5 creeps. The Aquas died before the troll. I thought the troll was going to share a little bit more. This ain't my first rodeo, baby. Fair enough, fair enough. He's a bit of a veteran for Lil, so he's definitely been around longer than I have. But no, that leak, very, very slow leak. Definitely very good for us, considering we have more push, more bank, and more value. This game is close to unlosable at the moment. We definitely have to just do something quite silly, honestly. And we'll see if we end up doing that. So for here, I just place the Troll Fighter and upgrade it. So currently I'm thinking, in terms of building, I'm going to focus on building against level 14, because that's when we're planning to send. I've got 2 options in my role. I just sort of wanted to check how much it was. I forgot if it was 8 or 5% actually, but it's 8% attack and movement speed. So anyway, I've got 2 options for anti-14. I've got the Cavalier, and I've got the Moon Guard or the Warden. So I'm thinking, because the Warden was changed recently, got a little bit of a buff to the ability, and a little bit of a change so it stops sort of jumping into sends and just suiciding in 3 seconds, because that's what used to happen with the Blink before it had a little bit of a change. Certainly a fun unit, but it was quite terrible. Now with this change, obviously haven't played a lot with it because it's a very difficult unit to use. It's kind of only you see it for building for 12 and for 14, and even then it's it's on the lower level of strength for those levels, I think, compared to things like Blaster or even things like Cavalier. If I was entirely focused on winning, I think I'd go for the Cavalier, but I'm just thinking like, you know what, Warden's new, you don't see it very often, let's just give it a try, see how it looks. And I'm extremely strong this game, so there's absolutely no doubt in my mind that I'll hold a low 14's end, so I don't see a problem with just going for the Warden. So if you guys remember from LF's video where this red guy disconnected, it's actually because he pushed the sleep button on his laptop. So I'm just sort of warning him, if he ruins this very fun, very strong game for me, I'll be quite unimpressed. Won't be invited to my birthday party. So you know, that's about as bad as it gets. I full build here, and I upgrade the Spectre to a Wraith to dodge having to upgrade a farm, because I wanted to send that extra gargoyle. So that's just something you can do. Try and at least sort of have in mind which units cost food, and some upgrades don't. So if you know that an upgrade doesn't cost food, then you can use it to get around a farm. As you can see, I wouldn't have been able, or actually would have been able to do that farm, but I wasn't really calculating my lumber in this game. I wasn't 100% sort of focused with it. I was just like, oh yeah, I can dodge the farm and that'll be fine. So I'm clicking on the Warden portrait so my camera sort of follows it. That's why it's jumping around all the time, because I just want to watch how it behaves, where it blinks. But as you can see, it looks like it's doing a pretty good job. It's managed to stay alive at least, so you know, Warden in mid. I'll have Warden, easy cover on 14. They didn't ascend, of course. But they end up just leaking a bit too much. The values were a bit on the low side. And with only one heal left, even if they had someone holding, it unfortunately for them, it just wouldn't make the difference. Especially with so many Tuskers, and with Immolation is probably the worst spell for 14 when you only have 1 heal or 0 heals. It just doesn't do enough. Anyway, they'll be dying here in the next rather short while. So I'll just watch the end of the game. And I'm sort of joking around a bit with Teal. Oh yeah, you knew they were Immolation, that's why you don't send full on 6, you just save. Easy, happy days. Anyway guys, thanks very much for watching. Bit of a fun game, at least for me. Don't see that all that often. But yeah, appreciate it. Bye bye.